Do you like winning video games? If you do, get real familiar with clicking the number 4 on your keyboard, because in Super Doomspire, it's a gateway to some of the most powerful weapons in the game, such as Instant Kill. Instant Kill. More than half the enemy's health bar. Half the enemy's health bar. And Bouncy. In all seriousness, the Super Ball is probably the most influential tool slot in Super Doomspire when it comes to the PvP meta. Even though the game hasn't been updated in 3 years, you can still find people left and right who look like they spend more time honing their Super Ball skills than they do sleeping. Coming across a skilled player and being pelted by Super Ball after Super Ball can certainly be a humbling experience, but remember, you've got a lot of Super Ball tools to choose from. Maybe there's a tool you can equip in your Super Ball slot to harness the strengths of your own playstyle. Maybe it's one of the more conventionally powerful ones like the coconut, or it might be a rather unconventional one like the boomerang. What tool is that for you? Well, that's what we're going to find out in this video. I'll explain my 5 categories of Super Balls, those being fling, burst damage, ship damage, control, and special. Let's get started with the first and most infamous category. Category 1, fling. These weapons, the default Super Ball and the coconut, have the ability to apply knockback and the ragdoll effect to enemies. The goal here is to land a shot which sends your target into the void, killing them instantly. However, even if you can't quite seem to knock your target off the map, they still do 30 damage on each hit, which is incredible when you consider how fast they reload. Additionally, you can also use the ragdoll effect like a stun as a way to start a combo, like ragdolling someone against a wall and then lunging into them or shooting a rocket at them. The default Super Ball and the coconut are pretty similar weapons to one another, with the main differences being that the coconut takes longer to reload in exchange for extra knockback power and even extra ragdoll time when you charge it. This basically means that with the coconut, while you get slightly less overall hits with it due to the extra reload time, the hits you do get with it will be more likely to result in a kill, whereas the default Super Ball prioritizes your ability to spam as many Super Balls as you can, even if they lack a little bit of punch compared to the coconut. If you've ever had the misfortune of having to play against a skilled coconut or default Super Ball user, it'll be pretty apparent to you that these two weapons are really good. If constantly flinging people off the map like you have admin commands sounds like the kind of player you want to be, then the default Super Ball or the coconut, whichever you prefer, will serve you very, very well. Category 2, burst damage. These weapons, the bow and shadow shuriken, fire small but fast projectiles that deal a big chunk of damage all at once but take a bit longer to reload. These weapons also practically require charging or else they do way less damage. These two are pretty consistent weapons. They don't rely on map geometry for a void kill, instead just being extremely fast projectiles which immediately deal a big chunk of damage. These two are certainly slow to reload compared with other Super Balls, but the reload is fast enough to the point where even if it's your only source of range damage, a burst damage type Super Ball can sometimes be enough to take down enemies one by one all on its own. However, the real power of these weapons start to show themselves when you use them in combos. For example, you could shoot someone with a bow and then finish them off with a lunge and a sword swing, or you could shoot someone with a rocket launcher up close, sending them far away and with low health, and snipe them with the bow to kill them. Additionally, in those situations where you launch an enemy far away and leave them on low HP, the bow will be much better than the default Super Ball at confirming that long range kill because of its aforementioned projectile speed. It's just that, again, this super consistent damage across all ranges is being compared to the almighty default Super Ball and coconut with their seemingly unparalleled ragdolling capabilities. Category 3, ship damage. These weapons, the paintball gun and the slingshot, have extraordinarily low reload times, but do a low amount of damage and can't be charged, making them much more useful as combo tools to finish off enemies hit by splash damage or something, because they alone can't cover your damage output. Additionally, these weapons also have pretty terrible range, especially the slingshot. There's not that much to say about these two weapons. They're generally pretty bad, but if you can find some weird combo in which they actually work really well, I mean, I'm not stopping you, go for it. Category 4, control. These weapons, the boomerang, pokeball, and lava ball, deal more damage than the regular Super Ball and are also easier to hit enemies with than the burst damage tools with less range. These tools are useful in small spaces with walls around, like inside of Doomspires, and in other situations where the extra damage would be more useful than the ragdoll effect. That kind of situation doesn't come up that often considering how open every map in the game is. So it's better to use these weapons defensively than offensively, so you don't expose yourself to the open where you'll have a disadvantage as ragdolling superballs will most likely be your demise there. Category 5. Special. These two weapons, the snowball and bloomerang, have properties no other Superball does, and it would feel wrong to put them in any of the other 4 categories. The snowball is a fast reloading Superball which, instead of a ragdoll effect, applies a movement debuff for 6 seconds onto anyone it hits. This is similar to a lot of the control weapons in the sense that it trades off the ragdoll effect in exchange for something else. In this instance, that something is the chill effect rather than extra damage. However, unlike the control weapons, this reloads a lot faster than the regular Superball, so it can end up dealing a lot of damage by itself. And very conveniently, the chill effect makes it much easier to land follow-up shots since your target can't move around as much. Even if you only land one snowball, you'll have a massive advantage and a much easier time aiming your rocket launcher at them. All of that is, of course, at the opportunity cost of not getting an instant kill by knocking them into the void. Additionally, the snowball probably won't work as well against skilled players, as players under the effect of the snowball can still lunge and rocket jump like normal, which skilled players will be sure to take advantage of. I consider this to be sort of in between a control type Superball and a fling type Superball, as it has properties of both, such as physically hindering your opponent like a fling Superball would, and helping to secure damage at mid to close range like a control Superball would. It's much more consistent at the physical hindrance thing than a fling Superball, since the chill effect lasts for 6 whole seconds, which is an eternity in a fast-paced fighting game. So while it can't reach the peaks of a fling Superball being able to get a void kill, it also won't reach the troughs of the effects of your Superball being shrugged off by your opponent. The bloomerang uses the same format as the boomerang, a control weapon, but has a lot less damage potential since it can only hit once, in exchange for giving you extra vertical mobility. I personally think that this is more fun than it is useful, as nothing can quite compete with the usefulness of a coconut capable of war crimes. Still, it'll allow you to engage in combat using mobility options that anyone using a different Superball could only dream of. Consider if you think you have a fighting style which could really take advantage of this, like if you rely on height advantage to land melee attacks. And of course, the area control potential, while not the best in its category, is nothing to discount. And that's all the Superballs. If you're still not quite sure about which one could be the best for your playstyle, here's a quick recap. Most players use the Superball to deal damage to enemy players at a distance. If you want to potentially secure an all or nothing void kill with a stun and some knockback, the default Superball and Coconut are what you should pick. If you'd prefer to get kills by dealing outright damage and reducing your enemy's health to 0 without relying on map geometry, the Coconut and default Superball are honestly still pretty good for this, as 30 damage per projectile is incredible. Though you could personalize your choice here and go with the bow, shadow shuriken, paintball gun, or slingshot depending on your playstyle and what kind of range you prefer to fight at. And if you'd like to play more defensively, the lava ball, pokeball, and boomerang can help you secure more damage close up. If you find the stun ability of the fling Superballs useful but inconsistent, you could have more success with the snowball, which provides a much more consistent debuff than the coconut or default Superball, although you'll lose out on the insta-kill potential. And then, if you like going bouncy, you can pick the bouncy one. Me, personally, I like going bouncy, so that's why the bloomerang is the right Superball for me. What's yours?